developing a strong brand is key. And I am excited that today and this evening, especially, that you're going to get some tips on what to do to ensure that who we are within this organization will help us go to the next level within our community. So welcome. I'm excited, and stay tuned for some great information we're going to get. Madam Chair of our technology, Tamika, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Octavia, for that beautiful welcome. Thank you so much, Madam President, for your words of welcome. So lovely to see my club sisters. We appreciate you on tonight. Next, we will have the introduction of our speaker by Tech Committee member, C. Dolores Furlow.
Good evening. The energy feels really great in the room. We are so excited to have you join TMAC this evening. You are in for a wonderful, wonderful surprise and delight. And yes, Miss Watts, I'm putting it out there so you can step to the mic. This evening, we have Lee Ashby Watts, who has over 20 years of marketing and branding experience, helping both professionals and entrepreneurs develop clarity and strategy. Is the Chief Marketing Officer at Global Law Firm, as well as owner of Ashby and Watts Consulting, a marketing and branding company for small business owners. Lee is a frequent speaker for various conferences and a contributor for Forbes Communications Council. She earned her executive MBA from Georgia State University and a BA from Ohio University. Miss Lee Ashby Watts, thank you for joining us this evening. Come on down.
Thank you for having me. I'm very, very excited to be here. I'm going to share my screen, so I'm going to do that in just a second. But I wanted to say I'm so honored to be here today, and so honored to, first of all, talk about a topic that I absolutely love. So I'm excited about that. But also during Black History Month and celebrating beautiful Black women, celebrating women who are in their profession, enjoying what they do, their God-given gifts. So I'm really excited to be here in the month of February, especially. And I'm going to go ahead and get started because, again, this is such an important topic. And when I was talking to Tamika earlier, just about, oops, I don't want to do that. When I was talking to Tamika earlier, just about the audience and who's going to be here, and a little bit of their challenges and what they may be thinking about. And I'm going to pivot just a little bit. And ironically, that's one of the things I want to talk about today, because if nothing else, in 2020, we learned how to pivot, right? We started off with what we thought was going to happen that year, last year, and quickly learned we had to pivot our plans. But I want to talk about how that relates to our personal brand, whether you are a business owner, whether you are working in corporate America, whether you are, working in academia, or if you are retired, right? Because we all have a personal brand. The question is how much do you control your brand? How much do you control it? How much are you aware of what you are giving out to people? So we're going to talk a little bit about that and why it's important, especially in today's world, even as we are continuing to pivot, because in 2021, we are still realizing that we are, things are not quite back to normal, whatever normal is going to be, but we're going to have to rise above some things and learn how to stand out. So living out loud. And that is something, again, as we go into Black History Month and thinking about the beauty of who we are, thinking about the great Cicely Tyson, how much are we living out loud? How much are we, even if you're aware of your brand, how much are you living it to your fullest? How much are you owning who you are and walking in the power that is of you. So we're going to talk a little bit about that.
I've been in here.
So I talked about a little bit in the title, as you all know, Rising Above the Noise.
Nobody saying anything.
So a little bit of what is all the noise. It is very difficult sometimes to, again, walk in our power, walk in our brand, walk in who we are, and know exactly who we are, be clear with it because of everything that's going on. And again, 2020 was a rough year. 2021 may still be a hard year. So we're going to have to learn how to rise above all the things that are trying to clamor for our attention and pull us off of who we are meant to be. So some of those things are social media. We sit on social media and we see what maybe society, the world is telling us we should be. We see who we may be trying to be or trying to compete with or compare ourselves with. Social media can pull us into a hole, right? So we have to know, be very comfortable and sure of who we are for it not to impact us in that type of way. And as I'm talking, I want you to think about these kinds of things also for your business, because if you own a business, you still are managing both the brand of your business and also your personal brand. Just a small side note with that, because in most businesses, somehow, one way or another, people aren't buying the business, they're buying people. They're buying you, they're buying a relationship, they're buying a story. Because with most businesses, there's someone else who can do it as well as you can at the same price down the street, around the corner, on the other side of town. But most people are still buying into a relationship, a person. So how does that impact even our businesses? So again, the noise. So the pandemic, right? All of the things that are going with the pandemic, we can get discouraged, we can get pulled down, we can get distracted, anxiety, right? And so it's hard to live out and be all you can be and be in your brand, even in this pandemic, even as our finances, as the next point, are being impacted, recession being impacted. We're afraid about our jobs. We're afraid of our businesses. How is this impacting everything? Racial tensions, for sure, can impact our brand and how powerfully we walk in it. There were some moments in 2020 when some of us may have doubted or stepped back, shrunk a little bit with watching all of the tragedies that were happening before us. So definitely gender tensions, it still exists. And again, just the opinions of who our parents, our siblings, our friends, our spouses think we should be and the roles that we should carry. And then we're constantly bombarded by advertising and then just societal expectations. So there is a lot we're dealing with, a lot that we're dealing with when you're thinking about still walking and owning your personal brand. So before I get into personal branding and how to leverage that, and I'm going to talk about technology a little bit as well, I want to just make clear the difference between branding and marketing. So, I love doing both, but I specifically love branding, because branding, the way that I see branding, a lot of times the way I like to explain it to other people, is branding is like the fragrance you leave behind. So some of us may have a favorite fragrance that we wear all the time. It's almost like our signature fragrance, right? And we wear it enough that when we leave the room, people can still smell it. They'll think, oh, I know who that was. That was Tamika. I know the perfume she wears. She just left the room. It stays with us. When we're long gone, people smell it and think about it and relate it to us. So your branding is kind of like your foundation. It is who you are. It is your story. It is the fragrance you leave behind. And your marketing answers kind of the how. So when you have a business, a brand, and you're an author, whatever it is, you have your brand, you have your story, you have that fragrance, you have those words, those emotions that people associate with you. and your business. And then the marketing is how will you implement this? What are the platforms? What are the things that you're going to do to draw business to you? So some of you may be thinking about marketing as well, but we all should be thinking about brand because we all have a personal brand, right? It is whether you are controlling your brand, whether you're aware of your brand, whether you're leveraging your brand. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So one of the things I really love to talk about is brand clarity, because again, even though I keep saying you all have a brand, you may not be aware of what it is or very clear about it. So just talking a little bit about brand clarity. So knowing your personal or your business brand and the steps needed to execute it. So that's really important with clarity. It's implementing your personal brand throughout your life. So your personal brand is not just for your business. It is not just for work. I dare to say, if you are single, your personal brand affects your relationships, how you date, how people are attracted to you. So your personal brand impacts a lot of different things. So knowing what it is really important. And how does your personal brand make people feel or react? Branding is very closely tied to emotion. And you need to be aware of the emotions that you invoke in people when you're in their presence. I'm sure many of you have heard or seen that quote about how there are some people people either drain you or add to you. There's usually no in between. So what are they doing, right? And who are you? Which one are you? Are you adding to people? Are you draining people? And we should be aware of that. How do we make people feel? And how does your personal brand move you through your journey in life? And knowing your story. When someone asks you, tell me a little bit about yourself. What made you you? Where do you begin your story? Where do you begin to shape your brand? What are the words that are consistent throughout your life? So personal branding, why is it important? So personal branding, I can't remember if it was the president or Miss Taylor who opened up when they talked about it is the affirmation of who you are. I love that phrase. So personal branding is it's important because number one, it helps us to be competitive. It helps us to know what we bring to the table, right? Everyone should know what you bring to the table. So when you're going through a year like 2020 and maybe even 2021, when people may be looking to cut or, budgets are tight, how do you stand out? When you know your personal brand, you can compete. Even if you may not always get every single job or everything that you may be competing for, but they will be clear on who you are and what you bring. Again, personal branding is important because you can tell a person who's walking in clarity and who's walking in confusion, and you want to be someone who walks with clarity. It helps to make choices. Now, when I talk to business owners about why their branding and marketing is so important, one of the things I emphasize is that if you have an unlimited budget, then you can you don't have to be so detailed and understand your brand because you can just spend money wherever you want, right? But most of us are on some type of budget or have some type of budget with ourselves or our business. And when you are clear about your brand, you know what the right choices are to make for you. There are certain things I'm not going to buy or places I'm not going to go or relationships I won't participate in because it doesn't line up with my brand. It doesn't line up with my journey and where I'm going. Personal branding is important because consistency is important. No success is reached without consistency. And also personal branding helps because it helps build your credibility. When you're focusing on your personal brand, you have and I think we'll talk about this in the presentation, you have narrowed down those areas where you are considered an expert. And I promise you, everyone on this call, you are an expert in something. You know it more than someone else. So expert doesn't have to be that you know it more than anybody else in the world, or you're at the top 2% in the world. You know it more than another group of people, right? So personal branding helps with credibility as well. As I mentioned, everyone has a brand, whether you think you do or not. The exercise of personal branding is taking control of the messages you are sending. So how do we get there? For those of you who may know, that's fine. Let's bear with us a little bit, or maybe you may learn more about yourself in this little exercise and the way that I like to think about brand clarity. So some of the things to ask yourself, and if you have some paper and you want to just start, writing these things down or journaling and working through this for this new year, being very clear about your brand. And trust me, brands change over time. If you're the same person you were 10 years ago, that's a problem. There should be something new, different, mature, fresh about who you are. So this might be a year of change for you. So some of the questions to ask yourself and write down, and we'll talk a little bit about what they mean. What breaks your heart? What breaks your heart? Because you can tell a lot about a person by the things that break their heart. Because on the other side of that, usually the direct opposite is what brings them joy as well. So what breaks your heart? And usually the things that are really breaking your heart, and it doesn't have to be like world hunger. I mean, there's certain things that breaks everybody's heart, right? We don't want to see kids abused, but what are some other things? One time I was interviewing a client and she's working through her business that she's trying to launch. And she said, I really hate to see women who are sisterhoods that are broken. Women who are not operating as in unity. It bothered her a lot. And so from there, it helped me to tap into how to message her brand, how to work her business, her business idea in. So think about those type of things, not the big things that breaks everyone's heart, but those other things that maybe no one knows about, but it just bothers you. Think about the things that you're really passionate about. Again, it doesn't have to fit into a nice, perfect box on your resume, but things that you're just passionate about. How do you want to be remembered? That's a really powerful question. When you think about how you want people to talk about you at your funeral, I know that sounds morbid, but that's when you think about that. What are the words you want them to use? And will they all kind of have similar stories? Have you ever been to a funeral and everyone got up and were like, was this all the same person? Because everybody has a different viewpoint on who this person is. That's kind of scary, right? But will they all kind of like, yes, those aha moments, like, yes, that is who she was. She was a prayer warrior. She was, whatever it is. How do you want to be remembered? And then I want you to write down those key words to describe you, that you want to describe you. One of the things that I use when I'm asking people this is, you are out to dinner with me and my friends. You don't know them and you have to leave early. What are the type of words you want them to use to describe you after you leave the table? That fragrance you leave behind, right? And it doesn't always have to be those cute, nice words. Oh, she was so smart and she was nice. It may be like, wow, she dressed really great. Because hey, that's part of the brain. Like that means you need to like tighten up the wardrobe and how you bring it, But what are those things that are important to you that you want people to remember about you and describe you? And finally, one of my favorite things to do is watch TED Talks. If you've never watched them on YouTube, be sure to watch them. They're just so powerful. And the challenge, if you haven't seen one, is like people have to come with a very specific topic for 18 minutes and hit it hard and talk about it. Very timed. So if you had to give a TED Talk in just a few days, get up on a stage full of people, in front of a room full of people, and talk for just 18 minutes about a topic that you're really, really passionate about, what are those 3 topics that you'd want to talk about? Because more than likely they lead to, again, something about your brand, something about how you want to communicate and touch and present yourself to the world. So those are some ways to think about our path to brand clarity. And then as we're looking, if you wrote those down and you're looking through them, you're looking for what are some consistent words, some consistent themes, some common denominators, some common emotions that are coming out. That helps us to think about and to understand, again, emotions that we need to invoke, and how we show up in a room, careers we should pursue, how we should shape and talk about our business, what our mission statement should be if you have businesses with your business. Again, because people are typically buying into a story about you and your values. So pulling out all of that together and see where we are. All right. So then how do we live all of this out loud? So that's where we talk about our personal brand. So you can have a great personal brand, but nobody knows about it, right? And if you're still here and still breathing and on this call and going to do things after this call, you still have things to do in this world. You still have a message. You still have things that God is like, and I'm spiritual, so I'm going to keep referring to God, but that God is calling you to do. And so to not do that is selfish. So how do you live that out loud? So not everybody is big on social media, but it is here and it's not going anywhere and it's free for the most part. So how do you maximize that? How do you use that to think about what your personal brand is, even if it relates to your business or your profession, and how do you show up? Because almost any, business transaction, academic situation, interview situation, someone will go Google you. And I always say, are you Googleable? Are you Googleable? When people Google your name, what comes up? Is it a consistent story? Is it nothing? What comes up? And so social media, if nothing else, even if you're not active, you're like hate it or whatever, if nothing else, social media is a powerful search engine. So it will at least give something for people to say, okay, I have at least found her. This is her real name. So what is there, right? And so if we could even just talk briefly about social media, I'm not saying get on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. I'm not saying get on all those things. You find at least 2 that and maybe it's just 1, but 1 or 2 that you want to master, that you want to make sure represents you well. So when people need to reference you and get to know more about you, your company, your brand, something about you, it is there. Also, for some of you, it may make sense to have your own personal URL or your own personal website. So leeashbywatts.com, if you don't have a business and you just want your name somewhere and you can just have a nice professional picture of you and your resume and some things that you're good at or your values or your mission. Again, this is all depending on what your next chapter is, where you're being led, a business, a foundation, a nonprofit, a book. I work with a publishing company and I'm sure there are some people in here who are writing a book. I can pretty much guarantee you that, or about to write a book. And I cannot tell you how many people make up the mistake and wait to market until after they have the book done. So if you are in that category, go ahead and start this stuff now before the book is finished. have stuff that people is already up in Google, that people can Google. And my next point, that thought leadership. When I talked about those TED Talks and those topics that you could easily talk about, that you're so passionate about, you want to tell people about, there should be some remnant of that somewhere in your life. Whether it's a blog that you have on that personal website. And nowadays you can do blogs on your LinkedIn. Talk about it. Whatever it is, talk about it. If you're writing a book, I always say your book should not be a surprise to people. They should think, oh, of course, yeah, she's writing a book on that topic. She talks about it all the time. I know that this is her thing. I'm buying the book. She has proven herself to be an expert in this topic because she consistently blogs about it. She does videos on it on YouTube or on Facebook Live or Instagram Live. She has a podcast. I've seen her host a seminar. Do you understand what I'm saying? You're building the story. You are leveraging your brand. You have figured out what your brand is. You've answered those questions. You've gone around that circle that I laid out. And now you're like, okay, I got my story. Now it's time to tell the world. And this is how we do it. Also, it is being consistent. We can't have one-time wonders, one-hit wonders, right? It has to be consistent. And consistency for you is whatever you kind of define it as. Like I hope it's not once a month, but people don't have to post every single day. But you don't want it, you want people to know that you're passionate about what you love and you're in it, you're invested in it, and you're doing the work. Like, people are inspired by people who are just doing the work. So just show people you're doing the work. And then 10x your life. I think I just did a video for this somewhere on my Facebook page or YouTube or something. But it's one of my favorite books is called The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. Now, Grant Cardone is not a marketing guru, but he is a real estate, billion-dollar real estate investor, big personality, loves his life, loves what he does. I love his energy. And one of the things that he talks about in the book, The 10X Rule, is just 10Xing your life. Like, everything that you're touching, you're doing, your business, your relationships, are you doing it to the best of your ability? Are you living out loud? Because it inspires people, and people are attracted to people who live their lives out loud. They live their business out loud. They're not ashamed of who they are, what they're doing, what they love, what they're passionate about. They love their business. So how can we see that in your life? And how could you, even if you said, this year, I'm going to take it up just a notch. What does that look like for you to take up your business, your education, your relationship? If you're married or engaged or in a relationship, your parenting, what does it look like to take it up just a notch? And we're moving towards 10X. So I'm not saying go out today and just do a 10X whole new life, go buy a new car, do all that. But how can you level up? Like, for some of you guys who know the younger songs, how are we leveling up? All right. Let's see. I have no idea what time it is. So we're going to talk a little bit about technology. Whew, Lord, if nothing else, 2020, we had to learn some technology, hopefully, and get good at it. Now, I'm going to talk a little, just very briefly, about virtual presence. I don't have a screen for this. I spoke about virtual presence and, how to show up and all this other stuff probably 5 or 6 times last year for different groups, because what happened the last week of March is people got on Zoom and all these other videos and were looking a hot mess, and coworkers were like, who is this? oh my gosh, what's going on? And it can affect your brand. If you didn't figure it out and turn that around really quickly, it inevitably affected your brand. And that's not just in corporate or academia or wherever you work. It is also for meetings like this. Like, these are your sisters are your future referrals, your future clients, your future champions, mentors. How do you show up? How are you carrying your brand even with them? And if you're showing up virtually, looking a hot mess, stuff all in the background. I didn't realize my blanket wasn't folded over there until I saw it on here. But how are you showing up? Are you stepping up to your best? And it doesn't have to be best all the time, but do you understand what I'm saying? Is it representing who you are in a way that you want it to be? Do you have the right lighting? Have you looked at your background? Have you, are you eating and drinking and in the dark and all kinds of things when you need to be present to make the biggest impact you can? So think about that. So leveraging your brand, that's part of leveraging your brand. Some of these are some of my favorite tools from 2020. And I'm going to talk a little bit about these and how you can use these if you don't already know. So Canva is, and almost everything that I recommend, I say do the free version until you cannot do it anymore. And if any of these are not free, then I'll let you know. But Canva, most of you probably have used that or know that. It is, if you're not a graphic designer, but you need to make things pop and look great, Canva is very easy to do. So if you are on social media and you have to produce something and want it to look visually appealing, Canva is a good app or platform for you to use. And when I say make it look visually appealing, and when I talked earlier about social media, I know this is not a social media class, but let me just tell you, social media is still about visuals. So if you are saying, I love to just write quotes, and I'm just going to put a quote on social media, and I'm just going to put a beautiful scripture that I really like, or announce my tea that's coming up. That is wonderful and beautiful. You still have to do that. But social media is just like dating, right? When you first date somebody, they don't know how you're such a wonderful person in the inside. They have to visually be attracted to you. There has to be some type of something that's pulling the two of you together. And social media is similar to that. You could have all the great intentions and have all the great thoughts and content, but if it's not visually appealing, you will lose your audience and engagement. So Canva helps you to be visually appealing. So Buffer, Hootsuite, Planoly, and there are so many others that help with scheduling your social media. So as I talked about, part of this is being consistent. Some of you are busy, some of you don't even like social media, but you can schedule out a lot of your posts in some of these scheduling platforms that are pretty easy to use. I think I have at least one of these, a training video that if anybody wants, they can email me and I'll email that to you. And then Teachable, I would imagine that a lot of you could benefit from this. Now, this one does cost, I think it's like $24 a month, but if you have a course that you want to teach for whomever your audience is, it could be for young women, it could be for this group, it could be for, just whatever your business is. If you have a course and that's where you're being led, you can do videos on, for example, Zoom, record it, download it onto your computer, go to Teachable, create an account, upload it. You can link it to your PayPal or whatever. You can charge for it and have them pay to watch your course, or you can do it for free, but you want to just still collect everyone's registration and email and understand who's watching your course. So Teachable is a great platform for that. And again, there are others. I'm just using the ones that for, again, leveraging your brand and thinking about some things that you all could do. Of course, Zoom, we're talking on Zoom, which has been invaluable in 2020. StreamYard, I'm sorry, this should be StreamYard, not Steam. This is another, so I'm sure many of you have heard about Zoom fatigue. So people have gotten tired of Zoom, right? The Brady Bunch little corners and just watching everything. So I attended a chief marketing officer conference a few weeks ago. And one of the things on everybody's priority list was, we got to find a better way to show up virtually to entertain people. And StreamYard can help with that. It lets you add some graphics and some ticker sign symbols at the bottom. You can stream it live on social media. You can do a lot of things with that. They have a very limited, I think, free version that you can do a few things on, and then you would have to pay. Evernote is just one of those things because I am busy. I have a lot of things going on. I'm writing a book, and I write it and I keep it in Evernote. So Evernote is just a cloud to keep a bunch of notes and thoughts, and you can have it on your phone or on your laptop and just keep it with you. So Spreaker or Anchor, there are hundreds of these, but that's just the two that I've used most frequently for launching your own podcast. So remember, some of you, what is your thought leadership plan? How are you getting out your expertise and showing that you are credible in whatever it is you're trying to do? Whatever it is that you decide to do, again, kind of reaching into my marketing hat, whatever it is that you're trying to do, have at least one of your strategies be something attached to voice, whether it's a video or podcast, or now people are doing Clubhouse and things, but there's something about the human mind and how we attach and create emotion in people where people need to hear our voice. And so make sure that's part of your marketing strategy. Again, a lot of different ones of these. And actually, I wanted to add Candidly on this one, because that's owned by a Black man in Atlanta, but a scheduling platform. I use Acuity, but I'm about to switch over. But, you know, you're launching your brand, you're leveraging your brand. Eventually, you need to give people the link to schedule time to talk to you because you are on a mission and you're busy, right? So you may have that on your social media, on your webpage, underneath your signature, in your email. If you'd like to schedule a call with me to discuss my expertise, click below. And then MailChimp, again, free for a long time, but this is a great way to collect email addresses, create your own email communication to people. Not everybody is on social media. Not everyone is going to see your social media stuff. So when you need to communicate and talk to people and pull them in, like I talk about social media a lot, and social media is good, but social media is rented real estate, right? So all those friends, I have over 2,000 followers. If Mark Zuckerberg closed it down today, I would lose a lot of people because I haven't converted all those people over to my MailChimp. I don't know their email addresses. I don't know how to contact a lot of those people. So remember that part of your goal, if you're launching a business, in a business, whatever it is to get people off of social media and into another platform where you can control the data. So that's a lot. I have no idea if I'm over, but I wanted to share a lot of this information with you, and just hopefully you all feel more clarity about your personal brand, that you realize how extremely important it is to know it, and you're thinking about how can I leverage it this year? How can I take it to the next level and walk in my boldness and in my calling? So thank you so much. I wish I could see everybody, but thank you so much. It's been great.
Yay. Thank you. Woo! Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lee. That was amazing.
Yes.
Let's see. So I will, let's see.
You.
Are we doing Q&As or no?
We are. I was
Okay.
just about to go to the next slide to introduce Lauren Myers, who is a member of the Technology Committee. She is going to be moderating our Q&As. So, Lauren, if you'll go ahead and unmute and take it away with your instructions.
Sure. Hello, everyone. If you have a question that you would like our speaker to answer, if you put it in the chat, please let us know. If you don't want to raise your hand, but you can raise your physical hand, or you can raise your virtual hand if you have any questions. I know we had a question in the chat about the Black-owned company that has scheduling, and that was also answered in the chat. It was, is it Canley? Canley? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? I'm just scanning the room.
I had a question.
I have a question. This is Tamika. So Lee talked about the difference between marketing and branding. So let's say that you are just beginning and you just want to focus on one. Which one do you, I mean, if you just had to choose one, I know you should do both, but where should you start? Which one should you start with before trying to grow the skill in the other?
Always start with branding, because you may change your business one day. You may start off doing virtual assistant business and switch over to something else. So that marketing strategy may change, but your brand is pretty much your foundation. So start with your branding.
Okay.
Awesome. We also have a question in the chat. What is the difference between Planopoly? How is it different from Hootsuite and Buffer?
Okay, so Buffer and Hootsuite are very similar. Buffer, I think Hootsuite started charging or doing something different with theirs. Hootsuite is just a little bit more complicated for me. Buffer is very easy and it's free up to I believe, 4 social media platforms. Planoly is one that I use for it's only for Instagram. And I like it specifically for Instagram because you can put different sets of hashtags in it already. And all you have to do is use this set of hashtags for my Instagram account.
Nice. There was a follow-up that Hootsuite is now charging. Were you aware of that?
I thought it was, or at least it's starting to charge sooner than it was before. It was free for a long time and then something changed. Yeah.
This is Angela. If I could just comment on Hootsuite, I use it a lot for several organizations that I work with. And you're right, it was free, Lee. I think when you get up, I think it's free for 3 platforms. And then when you exceed 3 platforms, you'll have to start to pay.
Yeah. Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, C. Dolores, go ahead. Go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Yes, thank you very much. Lee, I want to ask, when we are using social media and we've been taught to differentiate between the personal versus the professional. I have my LinkedIn account that I try to keep pretty professional. I have a Facebook account, an IG account, and I can actually say that they show various aspects of my personality. And so that concerns me about my branding. What do you recommend as it relates to balancing those?
I actually recommend that people show their personality in their social media a little bit. And it kind of depends on what your brand is and who your target audience is. But generally speaking, I think you should show your personality. But my personal rule is I mix mine because for my business, people are buying me to some degree because I'm a coach. But I only limit my personal topics to 3 because I don't want to dilute my brand. So I'm not going to post, for me personally, I don't post about politics. I don't post recipes. I don't post jokes, things like that, because I don't want to be all over the place. And then people are like, who is she exactly? You know? So I limit my top 3 things I talk about to my faith, maybe something about my fitness, me working out or something, and then like pictures with family and friends. So you kind of figure out what are I'm going to show people my personal life and my personality, but let me be intentional about what they see.
Thank you. And just one follow-up question, and this will be the last question. Do you recommend having several platforms for that? If you want to, post recipes or jokes or, more of your personal life, would you say to have 2 platforms for that?
Unless you have a lot of time and a lot of energy, that's fine. I normally, again, it depends on the person, but a lot of my clients, I'm like, you are a business person now. You don't have time for all of that. Like you have to be right now, you're building your business. You can still post fun things, but you are a brand. And I'm sure Oprah wants to talk about, maybe say something crazy about Stedman sometimes, but she realizes I'm a brand. I can't do everything I want to do on social media. And so I try to instill like, I just, unless you have a lot of time and you can manage a bunch of different accounts, that's fine. But I try to recommend you just manage what you have and treat it like a business and then a little bit of personal.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your questions.
Thank you so much, Lauren, for moderating the Q&A. If anyone else has any other questions, you can always ask us on our social media or send us an email to the club email account. We'll put that in the chat. And we'll be sure to get them to the speaker and get an answer back to you. So thank you so much for participating in our question and answer segment. So the rest of the program, we have a few things that we want to do right before we close up. So now we're going to have Angela Walton to take the floor and do a presentation. And if you can unmute.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So let me just smile and laugh at the picture that you have up right now, Madam First Vice President. However, how apropos, if you don't mind, leave me just doing a quick segue, that this is February and it's Heart Month, and there's a heart for you. We know that Friday is all about, everyone getting out and sharing their hearts on Friday for Heart Month. So, wow, that was really nice, Tamika. Lee,
It was the perfect picture.
That was from last year, y'all. So Lee, I really, really want to thank you on behalf of the Metro Atlanta Club and as well as the Technology Committee for sharing with us today. And specifically, we talked about rising above the noise and leveraging our personal brand. And specifically, Lee, we appreciate you for sharing over your 20 years of experience in branding and just helping us to live out loud and knowing what our brand is. Even when we're in a pandemic, and you shared that with us on today, and we certainly appreciate you for doing that. Just some thoughts that just came to me right off the bat is being able to pivot our plans because we have a plan, but you can't be so tied to it as you were sharing that you don't change it based on what's happening in the world. it's a pandemic. So we have to be able to pivot. So we thank you so much for sharing that with us, and just some of the thoughts that came to me, and I'm going to share something with you. We need to control our brand, everybody. And Lee was very intentional about sharing that with us. And people are not only buying your business, they're buying you. They're buying that relationship. They're buying you as a person. And so we want to be able, and I think C. Dolores shared this earlier in a question, we do want to share a little bit about ourselves, because that personability is what people are looking for. And what Lee shared with us on tonight is that she shares her faith, she shares her family, and she shares her fitness. And so, you know, I think that's grandiose in terms of just helping us kind of recognize what we want to share with folks. And so we thank you again, Lee, for that. And so I think that Tamika has something that she wants to put up, because we want to appreciate you so much for being with us on tonight. And on behalf of Global Design Connections, which, let me just put a plug in, I'm wearing one of their this necklace is one of their pieces, but we're going to share with you, Lee, if you can see this beautiful shirt with a woman and that mask. Do you
I
see
love the mask. Oh.
It is coming your way. We certainly appreciate you for the amazing amount of information you shared with us on tonight. And we want to share our love with you. And we want to thank you. Thank you so much for sharing with us on tonight. I don't know if I could just get a group picture. Can everybody just do some, you know, thank you to Miss Lee? Can you give me some clapping hands or something, just so I know that we all appreciate you, and so Lee can see that how much we appreciate her for on tonight. Thank you, Lee. I'm heading back over to Tamika.
Thank you so much, Angela. You made that very exciting, much more than I would have. So you were the perfect person for the job. I know with us being virtual, we cannot physically hand off our thank you gifts to our speakers, but we hope that you're just as excited when you get that in the mail. We just wanted to let you know that you're appreciated. So thank you, Angela, for that. Just want to take a moment to recognize our guests. First of all, we're just so appreciative of all of our guests that are on the call tonight. Thank you for people who were invited by Club Sisters. Like, I know there's some people on from Toastmasters and other organizations that were invited by our Club Sisters. So thank you all for coming. And then, of course, Club Sisters from other clubs. We have clubs represented here tonight. If you look in the chat, from various states all the way up to Ohio, and even in our own district and our own state. So we just thank you so much, Club Sisters. It's so good to see your faces, even though we're in these virtual times. I did want to recognize our Vice Governor, Dr. Yardley Hunter, who is on the call. I believe she's still on the call. Let's see if I can.
Outstanding performance, outstanding. Good notes.
Great.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I wanted to take down the the screen share real quick.
Good.
Okay, that was Dr. Yardley Hunter. Thank you so much, Dr. Yardley. It's good to see you. And then let me just make sure. I believe that our national first vice president was on the call. Just want to give her an opportunity to say hello if she's still here. But I don't see anymore. Okay. So yes, so just wanted to recognize our district and national officers for joining us. So we thank you, we appreciate you, and our Club Sisters from other clubs.
Tamika?
Yes.
We have our past Southeast District Governor on the line, on the call tonight, and that's Carlitha Barwell.
Yes, ma'am. I do see Miss Burrow. And if you'd like to say a word, you're welcome to unmute yourself. If not, we'll all just wave at you.
Just wanted to say that this was an excellent presentation tonight, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
It's so good to see you.
Yes, excited. We're excited.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Octavia.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and if I can't see anyone else, if you're from the tech committee or from our club, let's see. Okay, I think that's it for that. So we're going to wrap up shortly. There's just a few more things. We wanted to give our membership committee an opportunity to say a few words before we get off. Gwendolyn Landrum is going to represent the membership committee, and she is going to say a few words.
Thank you, Tamika. Hi, my club sisters from all across the country. Good to see you. And special thanks to our guest for joining us. And Lee, your presentation was outstanding. As a businesswoman, I am always interested in ways of branding myself. So thank you so much for that. We are here tonight because 7 phenomenal women in 1935, business and professional women, started this awesome organization. We are here to share the wisdom of programs such as tonight about technology and branding because of their tenacity in 1935. You know, they committed themselves to branding their businesses and branding this association so that we today can stand as strong Black women, business women, and professional women who want to make a difference and are committed to making a difference in the lives of other business and professional women, as well as young women coming up. So hopefully you have appreciated what you've heard tonight. This is just one of many of the programs that the Metro Atlanta Club of the National Association of Negro Business and Professional Women's Clubs will be presenting between now and June. And all of our club sisters that are representing other clubs across the country are doing the same thing. So we hope that you've seen and heard something that you would like to get more information about. And also look at us as a group of women who are committed to making a difference in our community. So the qualification for becoming a member is to be a business or professional woman, entrepreneur, currently working in that profession, or a retired entrepreneur or professional. So please reach out to the person that invited you so that you can get more information. We start our membership period, open enrollment period in March, and it goes through April, March and April. So when you get the schedule of all the other programs that we have between now and the end of our calendar, our fiscal year, then make sure that you're participating so that when we have our big membership reception, then you will come and join us and learn more intimately who we are and what we have to offer. And one of our brands is the Lipstick Series. So these are programs for women who wear red lipstick. Join us. Thank you, Tamika.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gwen. Yes, we are excited to hear about membership. It is the lifeblood of our organization. So we appreciate you, Gwen.
Thank you.
And just to come back to the slides to ensure that I am not forgetting anything. The last thing was just the final remarks. And so Janice Andrews, our president, is going, I'm sorry. Janice Andrews, our president, is going to bring us final remarks. And then I am going to come back on and just with 2 more announcements and then we'll be done.
Thank you, Tamika. And as the technology chair, I want to commend you and your team for putting on a wonderful presentation. And Lee, thank you, because it's very important that we truly understand branding. And most people think am I muted? Okay. Most people think branding is just about your business, but you really focused on something that was key, and that's the personal branding. and brand clarity and the steps that will get us there. So I took some copious notes. It was very informative, very educational, very reflective of what we need to do to ensure we really connect to people as to who we are. So thank you so much for that. And again, thank everyone for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure. So with that, Madam Chair, I'll turn it back over to you and to our first Vice President, Tamika. All right.
Thank you. So as for my final remarks, I just want to say that you'll be getting a survey about the program in your email if you registered, just so that we can get a pulse of how we're doing with our programming. So keep a lookout for that. And also wanted to acknowledge the Technology Committee, Angela Walton, co-chair, C. Dolores Furlow, Lauren Myers, and Octavia Taylor. These 4 women are like my core 4. We're the amazing 5 when we get on the same page and get together and put our ideas together. So I'm just so grateful for the Technology Committee, and just would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the other ladies on this committee for all of their commitment and for co-hosting and being behind the scenes, clicking around on the screen when we can't find, or one of us can't find what we're looking for, the other one just kicks in, and I really appreciate all of your hard work. So thank you so much, committee. Again, you can find us on social media at Metro ATL, NAMBPWC. So reach out to us and join us there. And don't forget, this Friday, we are celebrating Wear Red Day, which is not an official program with BPW, but it is for the American Heart Association. And since we have Think Heart, Think Health at BPW for our programming, we are going to acknowledge that also on this day on Friday by wearing red. And so we're going to share our photos on social media. So Club Sisters, remember to wear red and submit your photos so that we can share that with the rest of our sisters and the world to get the word out about heart health. Lastly, our upcoming programs. We have Safe Encounters at the end of the month on the 24th. We have Women's History on March 21st. We're going to have a dynamic speaker for that. Beatrice Williams, I believe is her name. For Safe Encounters, we have an officer who's coming. He's going to talk to us about police relations and relationships with law enforcement. So we're looking forward to that. I believe it's the same officer from a couple of years
What
ago.
if Martin didn't stand
Relationship
up?
there. He's willing to come back. So looking forward
What
to
if
that.
Rosa didn't sit
Spring
down?
Founders Day scholarship memberships.
What if
And
Malcolm didn't
hopefully we'll see all of our sisters at the
matter?
virtual national convention in July.
Where would we
So
be
just keep an eye out
now?
for our upcoming programming.
What if Marley didn't get up, stand up? What if Du Bois didn't come to advance us? And Mandela didn't come to...
We'll continue to send information about our upcoming programming. Hopefully you saw that on the slides, what we have coming up for the spring. But we just look forward to having you. Thank you all for coming tonight. And it is 8:42, so we have wrapped up in good timing. We appreciate you sharing this hour and a quarter with us. And we look forward to seeing you all moving forward. So thank you and have a good night, everyone.
Night. Thank you.
Want to unmute yourself and say hello or wave? Feel free.
Thank you again.
Bye.
Outstanding program, outstanding.
Thanks for a great, outstanding information.
Enjoyed it.
That was it. Kudos.
Wonderful presentation.
Thank you. Thank
Good
you.
to see you.
Right.
Very beautiful, Ms. Watts. Fantastic presentation. Very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you so much.
We really appreciate
You
it.
did a wonderful job. Your club, I salute your club. It was fantastic. I wish I was taking more notes faster. Take care. Love you all. Love you all. Thank you. Mika, you bomb. You're the bomb. I love you. You're it.
Thank you, Dr. Youngsley.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
All right.
All the notes. I have lots of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
We will talk about them,
Sister
Tamika.
Brenda,
Enjoyed it.
thank you.
Enjoyed it.
Just enjoyed it. Okay.
Thank
Great,
you.
everyone.
Good night.
Great job, Gwen.
Tamika, I'm gonna hang in with you.
Do you want us to sign off, Tamika? Are you good?
That was excellent, Tamika.
Oh, thank you. Now, just one second. Octavia.
That was so good. It make me want to be a part of technology. Y'all gonna have me?
Come on, come on.
I am definitely interested. The program was excellent, and I'm still trying to figure it out.
Well, let us, hold on just a moment, Veronica. Let's make sure we cleared out our participants and it's us. I think we're
Okay.
good, huh?
Yeah.
Tamika, we're good?
Seven of us right now.
Okay.
You know, I was,
Veronica's the only one that's not part of the team, but she's on the team now.
Who is that?
Yes.
Please tell me about okay.
yeah, I left Gwen and Veronica on, but I put everybody else out.
Okay.
Gwen is part of
I have got so much to learn.
I know when
She's been
Veronica started
threatening.
talking.
She's been threatening for technology for a couple of years, so we got.
I have.
Yes.
I
Y'all
have.
in here.
She can come on. It's just that she's got to work, and I know she's willing to work.